Welcome back, homeschool friends. We are in Unit 4 on making decisions, setting goals, anticipating challenges. This is lesson 3, and I want to throw in a video about how I plot out the year. I do a lot of upfront planning so that in the heat of the school year, I don't have much to do. A lot of teachers at schools are required to do weekly lesson plans, but they're also given a curriculum that plots everything out for them. A lot of that seems like redundant work to me. I also don't like ordering a curriculum that tells me what to do every day because I have unique learners and they don't always go according to somebody else's plan. They don't always go according to my plan. So anyway, I wanted to show you how I plan out my year so that I know what's coming up, I know where we're going, and I can anticipate and order materials ahead of time without having to get it all up front in a big cost up front. But I also can be flexible and go with the flow of my kids. Now, if you are an unschooler or someone who really just flies by the seat of your pants, this video is not for you. Because I'm a planner. I like to know where I'm going. I like to know my goals. I like to know where we're headed in the year. But I also like to be relaxed as we're doing our homeschool. I like to enjoy the moment with my kids. I like to go with their interests. And if needed, we touch on just a subject in a brief little bit, and other parts we go deeper. By doing my plan this way, I have that flexibility. I still know what we're going to cover in the year. I don't have to plot out each and every day. And I can still know that we're going to accomplish the goals that we need to for the year. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that this video, if you're not a planner, maybe this will work for you. Honestly, it requires some work up front. But once you're in the moment and the school year is moving, you have a lot less work each week. So I want to remind you that I typically keep skills of reading, writing, math, spelling, the skills, separate from content areas. Content areas I plan out a little more rigidly because I'm going to be looking at library books and looking for videos and looking for hands-on projects and things like that. So I plan that a bit more rigidly. The skills, I still plan that somewhat, but mostly I go with mastery, which means we go in spurts. My kids go faster in some days when they're having really good memory days, and other days are remedial days, or they're days when we just need to get through the process and review. All right, so today I want to show you how I plan my unit themes because I teach in unit studies for the content areas. And I want to show you how I plan out my unit studies and at least get the overview for the whole school year. So I'm going to switch my camera here. Give a moment here. And the first thing I do is I'm a paper pencil person. You can do this on your computer if you want. And I've never actually made a form because each year our year changes. And I'm not going to give you a form either because your school year may run from September to May or January to November. I don't know what your school year looks like. After I've done my calendar and plotted out the times that we're going to take a break. Usually that's in November, December, and in this year it's April because we take Easter week off and that's at the beginning of April. So those are the months that only typically have 3 weeks. The other months typically have 4 weeks. Some actually have 5 weeks, but I don't worry about that because I'm just plotting out our year. These are going to get adjusted and we're going to go with the flow anyway. I just want to see how we're going to actually plot out our units. So we start our school year because we live in Arizona and most of the schools start at August. We kind of follow a little bit the school year that's typical down here. So we go from August to May. June and July, or the summer months, I usually leave for a special unit study that's more fun, more travel oriented. And so far, I don't know if that's going to be more science oriented, more social studies oriented, a combination, if we're going to go visit some national parks. At this point, I don't know. So I want to leave this blank as much as possible. That way, once I do know, I can plot that out, or we could just use those months as catch up if we really got into one particular time period. And by the way, I'm going to plot out this one for social studies. I do similar thing for science, and I'll give you some heads up on how I do that. All right, so I've plotted out my school year. Each of these 4 tick marks represents a week in the month. Now, most of my unit studies go 2 weeks to a full month. So if you do that, if you're going to plan out that each month is going to be a different theme unit, and you will have 8 to 10 theme units, that makes it really easy to plot out. Then you just need to find your activities. This is going to be for upper elementary in social studies. And so mainly concentrating on history. So I've already started doing this. I'm still in the process though. So in the end, I'll show you a different year that I plotted out. All right, because of holidays in here, we may only go 2 weeks in December, but this indicates a break. All right, here we go. This is the beginning of plotting out. In this particular year, we're going to be doing world history again from ancient civilizations. And one of my goals for my kids was that we could have our homeschool from a Christian worldview. If you come from a different worldview, please, you don't need to follow this. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm showing you how I do it. So in August, we will cover the beginning of time creation. I'll do a quick map unit study on the Fertile Crescent, and then the first civilizations on Sumer. I've taught this before, and there's some really cool books on the Gilgamesh trilogy that I love using. There's other resources. Crabtree has a really nice picture-oriented book on Mesopotamia. And so in these early civilizations, I like using those. We'll cover Noah and the flood. And then here's ancient Egypt. Now, some kids love ancient Egypt, and we may go way more in depth and take more time. And others just really can't stand thinking about mummies, and they just don't get into it very much. And so we might just breeze through Egypt. There's a lot to cover in Egypt that impacts world history. So I'm going midway and plotting out for 2 weeks. If we end up taking half of September and all of October, I'm good with that. The ancient Hebrews. Okay, so I'm starting plotting out, and I've got ancient India and ancient China here in the first semester, Greece and Rome, and then the Americas. But I ended up with a gap here. I'm missing something, and I need to go back through and do a little more searching. So I pulled out a spine. A spine is a textbook. It can be at your child's grade level. It could be above. I typically don't go below because even my kids with special needs are very curious about knowledge and learning content information. So I usually go a bit above their age or developmental level for my own reference, and then I build based on that. Okay, so then this was my next plot out. I'm a little more in depth. I've changed things around a little bit. I've got ancient China and Japan over here. I put India in March. I made this a little more specific. I still have ancient Egypt in 2 weeks, but I can usually cover Phoenicia in 1 day. And so if I need to, I'll adjust here. So I'm thinking ahead. What are my kids main? I know my kids. Might they be interested in? I don't always know for sure though, because sometimes something new is going to spark their interest and we'll go much more in depth. So I know that I've got little units here that I can adjust and scale back. I know that second semester is going to be ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and those are going to be biggies. And I've not had any kids not love doing ancient Greece. So that actually might take us a bit more time. Now I've filled out through May, and I've got ancient Americas, but I might spend less, depending on what we do, I might spend less time on ancient Japan and India and move this up into the school year. So I still keep my summer months for our special unit theme and travel and things we want to do. Now there's a couple things. When I was plotting this out, I almost always keep December and at least part of May for catch up or a research project. Now we may be doing hands-on projects all the way through, but because those take more time, everything may get pushed into December or into later in May. Also, sometimes because we get busy, obstacles come, I may need time to catch up. So I plot that into my schedule. So I'm not saying, oh no, we're behind. I know I've got that buffer added in. Okay, so then I still wasn't satisfied with that. I wanted to make sure that I left those summer months open. So I replotted it out and I decided I might want to do a timeline thing that'll involve cutting and pasting for my kids who need to do more fine motor things. It'll involve sequencing for those kids who need that organizational skill and the executive functions that go with doing sequencing activities. So I kind of adjusted a bit, and I still have my catch up and review and research project. For older kids, I like to spend a week or two doing some kind of a project. One of my kids did a report on oop arts, out of place artifacts that are found by archaeologists. Oh, he loved doing that. Another kid did one in ancient civilizations on the 7 wonders of the world. There are so many topics. And as I prepare curriculum to share with you, I can share with you some of those topics that are fun for research projects. But honestly, many of our kids are so creative, and you will know from what's interesting to them how to guide them toward a topic to do a little research project for. In this, especially if they are junior high or senior high, I don't care how low functioning they are, we pull together some kind of a paper. It may only involve writing a paragraph. It may be a 5-paragraph essay, and I may walk them through that process and do much of it with them and for them, but I want them to learn the process of writing from knowledge. And so for older kids, they may still do some kind of a building project or a drawing project or something where they're actually exploring on the internet, but we'll pull it together in a final product, maybe a poster, maybe a paper. All right, so now that I've got this done, I often type it up. Now, like I said, I'm still in the process of planning my school year here. So this is from a different year when we were doing later American history, and we started in right around the 1800s and went through the 20th century. I love doing a 20th century unit. And you can see in the second semester, we basically took Each week was a different decade. Now, sometimes I leave the entire second semester for each week as a decade. It kind of depends on how old my kids are and what I know about them at that time. And so this changes from year to year. I may still use the same ideas. By the way, this was mainly based on time periods, but you can see that I've got slashes in here. Those are mostly the topics for each day or for a couple of days. Did I follow every single one of these? No, we skipped some of it, but I still covered mainly the 1860s, 70s, the 1880s, 1890s. You certainly can group those in a different way, however you want to. Now, here's what a science unit looks like. I do the exact same thing, but as I go, I try to balance the different areas of science: astronomy, earth science, botany or plants, animals, because a lot of our kids love animals, but I want to expose them to more topics. So rather than spending the entire year talking about animals, I want to introduce them to magnets, or in this case, for this student, electricity was brand new. He already loved magnets, but I was exposing him to the concepts of electricity. He also didn't know anything about the periodic table of elements, so that was an introduction at the same time that we went back to rocks and minerals right after that, because he already loves rocks and minerals and fossils. And so I used a new thing and built it into what he already had background information in, so I could start tying it together and take him up to the next level. By the way, I'm a learning specialist. I've done this for over 30 years. I know my process. I've discovered my process. I've practiced it. I know what works for me. For you, if you're brand new to this, it's not going to go as easily and smoothly. Mostly, I want you to know you've got somebody you can rely on. So if you start this and you say, this is overwhelming, I can't do this. Okay, back off. Do something different. Use your spine and follow those units and do it. Use that information for yourself to share with your kids and just track through your book. You don't even have to plot out or write out this whole plan. I just want you to know there's many ways to get to the same place. But if you know ahead of time where you're going for the year, you're less likely to have behaviors, because you're less likely to have lulled down, I don't know what to do next kind of moments. So having a plan helps. You can always change the plan as you go. All right, well, I hope that's helped a little bit in knowing how to start planning unit studies. Obviously, there's a lot more to go in depth on how to find your activities. Keep it simple. The simpler you can, the easier it is for you, and the more likely you're going to be implementing your plan. All right, I hope that's helped. If it's overwhelming, back it off. If you want to try it, but you're struggling, send me a message. I'll help you. I'll help you even plot it out if I need to, but do it your way. Do it the way that works for you, that instinctively gives you that plan. And if you're not a planner, maybe try, because you'll have a lot less issues as you track through your school year. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Try something else. That's part of the beauty of the journey in homeschooling. So best wishes. I'll see you in the next lesson, and let's keep working toward a great homeschool for you. All right, bye.